Warning, this podcast contains spoilers. Warning, this podcast contains spoilers.
My enemies call me Namor.
They came from the water. He has superhuman strength.
I need to know if Wakanda is an ally or an enemy.
You can come and find out.
Let our gracious response to this incursion be an olive branch. Further attempts on our resources will be considered an act of aggression and met with a much steeper response.
Hello. This is Adolf, and I have with me everybody. I have with me Classic Jake.
Howdy, folks.
New Jake.
Hi, everybody.
And Johnny Boy, John.
Hey, everybody.
And today we're doing the Spoilercast for Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Now, John and Jacob, we haven't had a chance to hear your thoughts on it. So, Jacob, I'll let you do your spoiler-free thoughts on it, and then we'll let John talk about it, and then we'll do a little break and go into the spoilers. So, Jacob, what's your thoughts?
It's a more serious Aquaman movie. That's about it. It was okay. It was, I guess, as an actual movie, it was better than Black Panther. Kind of controversial thought for me, at least. But the cultural impact is way lesser, except for the passing of Chadwick Boseman. Rest in peace. But it was an okay movie.
And the 3D aspect?
Disappointing. Super disappointing.
So what scores would you give both the 3D and the movie itself?
The movie, I've been kind of hovering between a 6 and a 7. The 3D is just good. So I'll say a 6 for the movie.
All right, John?
Yeah, I was... It was a huge mixture for me because there were parts of it I really enjoyed and other parts I kind of wanted to bash my head into the wall. I was so frustrated with things, which we can get into that with the spoiler stuff. But it was rightfully kind of a downer, given the situation they were in with the passing of their main character. So they had to establish that. But you didn't leave the movie excited, or at least I didn't. I'd give the movie maybe a 6.5. I saw it in IMAX 3D, and it was much too dark, unfortunately, and maybe some of that was the projection where I was too. So I would give it an okay to average for the 3D. But unfortunately, as we were talking before the recording, there were trailers before it that showed you what 3D can really do, and Black Panther Wakanda Forever is not it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just by circumstance that it was Avatar 2, and the new trailer, and it also has a lot of water, just like this movie, and you can't compare them together because it's not comparable. It's not. It's like comparing Coca-Cola with diet caffeine-free Walmart brand. It's like, no, it's not the same.
No, and the Avatar stuff is intentionally, it's bright and fluorescent colors and stuff, which obviously helps the rendering of 3D, where Black Panther is much more dark, and it just doesn't play. That doesn't lend itself to be better for 3D, unfortunately. And Jake's comparison to Aquaman is the same way. Aquaman is much more bright, pops off the screen more than Black Panther does.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a bad movie, but it was a downer in comparison when I first saw that first trailer.
Yeah.
I remember that first trailer. We talked about it on here. We were kind of all blown through the roof with that thing. And then after seeing the movie, I was like, man, those people put the trailer together are really good. That's what I thought.
Oh. It was so bloated. Oh, sorry.
No. It's fine. I was just thinking that me and Classic Jake have kind of different opinions from y'all.
Yeah. But your opinions are legit, because I basically agree with them, just not to the extent. But then again, the Batman, we had differing opinions as well.
That's fine.
Fair.
We're respectful.
adults.
Yeah, we're adults. We could.
Well, hey, if we all agree, it'd be a pretty boring podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just don't fight over this crap. Not that important.
We're civil
Yeah.
and decent and respect one another. It's crazy.
Do we though?
We basically agree with your 3D too, which it's so unfortunate. I really, really wanted to like the 3D so much more than it was.
Yeah, there were a couple moments, but there were not enough to give it a good 3D review in my book.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm. And then there was just a lot of unfortunate stuff because there was one battle scene where Thor is coming towards the screen, feet first, and that should have been a beautiful pop out.
Yeah,
But whoever rendered cut the depth short by like several feet, and it just stopped. And I'm like going, no, and there was lots of that. It was very frustrating.
Now, what would have been really helpful is if they would have kept Namor's bulge in the movie and it come out at you. That would have been helpful.
All right, we'll have to take a break there and come back for spoilers. All right, so I mentioned this in my review that there's two questions that really, really bugged me, and they were not answered, and they were just glossed over, and it really, really pissed me off. And question number one is, what the hell killed Black Panther? We don't know anything. You're just knowing at the end where she's trying to save her brother, but we don't know what the hell happened, and that's bullshit.
Movie cancer.
No, it just.
yeah. I mean, I my daughter and I talked about that too in the drive home, and I think that was just them trying to be respectful of him. You know,
I get it, but they have to explain something.
No.
Maybe they'll do it in a movie or TV show in the future, but this was the time and place for it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's kind of a missed opportunity, isn't it, to show the humanity in our heroes? That they're not, they're not.
They're not invincible.
Right. Even to things that the average person too. But I don't know. Maybe they view that as a weakness, that they want these people to be everything we can't be. So I don't know, but I kind of wrote it off in my mind as like, okay, they're not telling us because of out of respect, and I just gotta deal with it.
Yeah,
they were having to make these decisions literally days after Chadwick Boseman's passing, so emotions were fraught. I mean, because the rational thing to do was to recast, but when you're making decisions literally many hours after somebody's death has been announced, emotions are raw.
Mm-hmm.
And then you make these decisions, and then you got years to think about it, because that's the nature of filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
So they were locked into a course that they probably realized was not the best option, but were locked in anyway.
Yeah, I mean, we're Monday morning quarterbacking years after it's been made or written or the moment happened in that decision. You're right.
Yeah.
Now, I mentioned before with Classic Jake that I think a perfectly in-canon way to explain it is that maybe he got hurt, T'Challa got hurt in Endgame, we just didn't see it on screen. And that injury we get to see, maybe that happened and it hurt him and he couldn't recover. And that could be a retcon way of explaining it, that it's like, we just didn't see it. And, there's a lot of things going on in Endgame, so that's totally explainable that maybe he got hurt in that fight. That's just an easy way to explain it.
Yeah, and they could probably still do that down the road if they wanted to.
Yeah, what if the blip had affected him somehow?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like in Secret Wars they could talk about it, or one of these other movies they could. Yeah. I mean, I would bet that Endgame, and maybe it's been said somewhere, I haven't read it, but his health had deteriorated so much. I think that's why you saw so little of him in Endgame at the end.
Yeah.
Because if you watch that now, he looks so skinny, and that's all because of the cancer at the time.
Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah, we had no idea when that was recorded and
right. Yeah.
So it's interesting to look back, but that could have been a way. Maybe they could have retconned it and said that he did come back, but then the flower didn't come back with him, and it made him weak or something. Because that's a whole big plot of this making the plant come back after it's gone. So I think there could have been some explaining, and that really bugged me that they didn't just say what happened. They just said, "Oh, he had a heart attack," or "He had some heart problems," or something. And it's like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think if Letitia Wright had any say in the story, it would be that vaccines killed him.
Yeah, no kidding.
Sorry to be bleak, but
yeah, now
we got a COVID vaccine did it.
Now we understand why she couldn't be written out of the movie.
Yeah.
But the other question I had was, where the hell was Namor during Endgame and everything else happening? They could have explained, okay, maybe Namor was just not wanting to be part of Earth, and then they had an earthquake they mentioned in the ocean in Endgame, which we haven't seen what the result of that happened to be. So that could have been a way of like, oh yeah, that earthquake opened up the portal, and there's so much missed opportunity there with that too. Like, why has Namor been completely absent to everything in the world?
Well, I mean, I think that's chosen isolation, kind of like what Donald Trump wanted to do. Just like, we don't want to be involved in the world; we just want to do us. So
yeah, and more to do with the rights with Universal than anything.
Yeah,
because they completely rewrote Namor from the ground up.
Yeah.
In fact, if you noticed, they even pronounce his name like 3 different ways in the movie.
Yeah, Namor, and what was the third one? Namor? I can't remember.
Everybody was all over the place pronouncing his name. I was like going, this is going to be a really good drinking game when this hits home.
Well, there'll be a lot of death.
No, but I really liked the character. I liked all the changes. I mean,
oh yeah.
They thought it out. They didn't decide like, oh, we need a Hispanic character. They just built him up from the ground floor up, which makes sense because the character's copyright is really shaky at best.
Yeah, you can't use Atlantis, so you had to use Kukulkan and all that stuff.
Yeah, well, when Bill Everett sold the creation to Marvel, he had already published it.
Right.
So Marvel doesn't really have that strong of a claim on it.
Right.
And the only reason they've been able to use it really is because Everett is from a wealthy family and comic books are beneath them. But now that he's in a franchise that's first movie made $1 billion, they may think differently.
Yeah.
But they couldn't challenge this because he's completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I do like that Namor is, I guess, technically not Hispanic because he's not Spanish origin. I mean, he was a Mayan origin, but I like that, and I like that we actually saw how cruel the Spaniards were because they definitely were very cruel. Definitely wasn't just a white man, or it was definitely different kinds of white men and white people that were having slaves back then. So yeah, there's a long history of horrific things the Spanish did and the English did in the colonies.
Yeah, that scene in particular made me think of Eternals whenever, all the colonization and stuff. So I'm like, kind of ties into that. I wish they would have brought some Eternals in for that scene, but
into this, and they should have at least had a reference to Namor in Eternals too. That would have been nice.
Yeah.
Well, even the blip, they didn't really address that the same way they have in the other Marvel movies, have they?
No. It's like it didn't happen in this movie.
Well, I thought the reference was about the kid and them and her leaving and then having his kid, which I assumed was over that time, but they didn't say it was that.
Yeah.
So is that how you guys took that too?
It was either that or I don't know, like, because they said it's been 6 years, and I'm like, that makes no sense because the movie came out 4 years ago. but it depends on where Black Panther falls on the timeline. So I don't know.
Wasn't that the duration of the blip though?
Yeah, 5 or 6 years. Yeah,
the timeline is just so skewed.
Yeah.
I mean, Spider-Man kind of ruined it.
Yeah, well, COVID screwed everything up with the timeline, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, it screwed up everything. This movie had so much stuff jammed into it. You could tell a lot of it was from other movies. They got recycling. I mean, they had 2 subplots in this movie that could have been plugged into almost any other Marvel movie.
Yeah, and I go on record saying the one subplot I completely hate.
Is it the oh god, Julia Louis-Dreyfus's characters?
No, it actually wasn't that. Although I wish they would get somewhere with that, because her just showing up every once in a while is dragging out.
And her being married to the Martin Sheen or whatever his name is.
That was weird. No, the whole Ironheart subplot, the girl in college and stuff. Oh, I hated it. I hated it.
She just seemed shoehorned into the show or into the movie because we got a show, we need a character in the movie. Go.
Yeah, it was terrible. I thought the whole, hey, here's a kid from the inner city, we're going to put her MIT like out of water, like it was just so cliched. They could skip that whole thing and it barely changes anything for the movie. And it completely
add anything.
The other thing it does is it completely makes Tony Stark not that smart anymore. Like he was able to make all the Iron Man stuff. The only person in the world that can do it. We sat through movie Iron Man 2 where a guy couldn't do it. And now some kid can just do it from scratch the same way. And if they can do all this stuff 3D printers, why is she using welding torches? Oh, I hated it. Hated it.
So I understand. I do like her character, though. I do think she was cool, and she had a contrast with the Wakandan people, but fit into. I liked her.
They didn't use her enough, and they didn't use her in the right way, though. I feel.
Yeah, I did. I thought they were trying to force the character for Disney Plus and force humor.
Yes,
that was poorly done. When there were serious moments, most of them with Angela Bassett in that movie, that were just stunningly good to me.
Oh,
when she took the general stuff away, that scene like gave me chills. When she's screaming at her about how much she lost and stuff, I was like, wow, this is powerful stuff.
Yeah, Angela Bassett is awesome in this.
Oh my gosh, she's so good. So good. And I thought that other stuff was just like, what movie are we in? That's stuff for an Ant-Man movie or it was too much. I just didn't like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like they dropped a plot Armor Wars into this.
Right. Yeah. It's just, you don't have to do, I just don't think you need to do that. I didn't watch She-Hulk, but even
not
like
many people did.
No, I guess not. But like I watched Moon Knight. I really enjoyed Moon Knight. Well, there's no movies that have drops of Moon Knight. Like you can present a character and make it work. You don't need to drop it in these other movies.
It just, I don't know. It just, I'm starting to get burnt out with comic book movies. Maybe that's probably my problem with some of the MCU now, but Phase 4 has also just kind of been a huge letdown.
I mean, it's all over the place, and they haven't really connected the dots that well.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still talking about the blip, and we still don't know everything that happened in those 5 years, and we still don't. And then apparently, now they're worrying about Wakanda not having a leader. Well, Wakanda didn't have a leader for 5 years, so what happened in that time? So we're still, we have a lot of stuff that hasn't been explained or poorly been explained. And I don't know if they're ever going to, if they're just going to move on and let's go with Kang and don't worry about what happened in those 5 years. Which is frustrating, but it's also, part of the business. They want to keep going. They don't want to linger on forever. But I mean, there's so much there, so much rich information there that could be shared with the audience, even in just TV shows explaining what happened during the blip. It's, could be so much there.
Yeah, I want have more explanation of why Shuri decided that her and M'Baku were going to kind of split. She would be Panther and he would rule.
Right. And even that wasn't overly clear that he said about the challenge, but other than that, you kind of weren't 100% sure if that's what that meant or not.
Yeah. I'm just assuming it was.
Me too, yeah.
I mean, for a long movie, it left a lot of stuff unexplained.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we had to get Ironheart into the MCU.
Jake, don't get me started.
At the end, it's like, oh, you got to give the suit back. And I'm like going, then why in the hell was she in the movie in the first place?
Yeah,
right. And that made it even worse. That made it clearly, hey, we're just going to show this person. So when there's a Disney Plus show in a year, you know who it is. I was just like, oh,
to sell more toys.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Subscribe to Disney Plus for the future Ironheart show. Great.
Now, what did you guys think of Namor himself? I really like him a lot.
Yeah, I like how he's like a rich, layered, complex villain, in quotes. He's just a man trying to protect.
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, I'm more probably, I kind of grew up with him like classic Jake did in comics, but I had no problem with them changing his history. I thought that was well done. I thought how they explained it was good. I thought the only ball they kind of dropped was, they dropped the word mutant, which is a big deal because they can never say that before. But I know, I've read some stuff for people, they understood how he could breathe underwater and stuff like that. But they're like, what are the wings on the ankles? Like, why would he have those? And I like my daughter said that, and I'm like, I really can't answer that. Like, I'm not sure why.
Those wing ankle things, I just laughed really hard. Like, I kind of have a feeling I know what they're trying to do. It kind of seems like it stems from like almost Greek or Roman mythology, but not quite.
Yeah, I give them credit for, holding on and not, because they could have easily dropped that, and people probably wouldn't have said much. So I give them credit for keeping that to the character. But is that groundwork for when they bring the X-Men out? And I would, Angel being a big character down the road. I don't know.
I kind of got a. This seems kind of like a small stretch, but whenever I heard the word mutant, I'm like, oh my god, they're going to introduce Storm in this movie because she's from Africa.
That would have been cool.
Africa. I was like, ooh, are they going to introduce Storm? Which I know that wasn't going to happen, but like, what if they did?
That would have been a much better subplot than Ironheart.
Yeah, but what do I know? I'm just a fan.
Now, I was confused a little bit about why some of the people were blue and some of them were not. Is it just because they're the first generation that ate it and the second generation? But I guess they live like 500-700 years or something. So how old are these people? And are the second generation not blue, but Namor is? I was kind of confused by that.
I don't know. I also think it's kind of programming from Disney to like, you got to remind people of Avatar too, so got to make some of these people blue.
Yeah, I think your confusion's justified because I think it was just confusing. Did it have to do with being in and out of water? I don't know. And there were some scenes like the one good thing about that subplot to Boston was when they fought them like on the highway. The general, I forget all the names. The general fought the main guy, Altuna or whatever his name is. Like I thought that scene was really good.
Yeah,
but I don't know why his skin color was one color, not the other, compared to Namor. I don't know.
Yeah, also didn't know. We know Namor's long-lived. That he's been around hundreds of years, and they worship him as the feather serpent god. He, has wings.
Yeah.
But we don't know if any of the other people, how old they are. Do they live hundreds of years? Do they live dozens of years? We don't know. That was not explained.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that society underwater is kind of confusing. It's like, so is it just a town that went there, or was it like thousands of people? Because it looked like just like a town that survived the smallpox, but like, to have a thriving underground environment, they need to have thousands of people. So that was kind of, doesn't make any sense.
What if the smallpox played a part in their blue skin? I know that sounds far-fetched, but what if it did?
Well, maybe. Yeah.
Sure, I'm fine with that.
The other thing that
problem
bothered me about the city was, they when Namor took Shuri down there, it was a very drawn out scene. I don't know what the time frame was, but it was very drawn out, complex to get in there. And then about half hour later, T'Challa's girlfriend, I can't remember the character name, she goes down there by herself and gets in like 2 minutes. Like, how did she get in there? Why was it so easy for her to break in?
Oh yeah, she didn't get into the waterfront like the turtles in Finding Nemo.
No, right. Like how did she know where and how to do all that?
Science.
Movie's got a movie.
I guess so. It's got to move forward in the plot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But that bothered me too.
Yeah.
All right. So what other big things here? We do get like more about the UN and how they're not happy about not sharing the resources and all that, which it works. I think it makes some kind of sense into that degree.
Yeah.
The whole Everett Ross subplot was just not needed. He didn't play into anything, really.
Yeah, that was disappointing. I felt that subplot was put in this movie because he was in the previous movie. He should have been Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, that would have made more sense.
Yeah, agreed. And I thought that, but then I also wondered, okay, is he going to be in Thunderbolts as well and have a play in that maybe? So maybe this was between that and Julie Louis-Dreyfus, maybe that was setting up for that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think this is a movie that should have worked it should have been a TV series because it would have had more time to flesh out everything. It should have been a 6-part miniseries, and it still could have been called Black Panther Wakanda Forever, but it should have been like 6 1-hour episodes. It could have had more depth. That's just me.
Yeah, and we could have caught up with Bucky.
Yeah.
Stayed in Wakanda for a long time.
Yeah.
Now, one thing. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I think what I think we all see it, but really where it's at is the first phase or two of Marvel setting up for the next movie or movie down the line was just really the end credit scene. It wasn't all through the movie, and now all of their movies, they're trying to have a movie plus setting up future movies within that movie, and you just don't have the time or the ability to do it. It's just too much. Where in those first phases, it was all right. We're gonna have two tags at the end that'll set up. Nick Fury will come and talk about the Avengers for 30 seconds, or this or that. Well, now we're taking half a movie within that, trying to drop plot points for things that won't happen for 2 years. It's just too much. It's too messy.
Yeah.
And the whole invasion of Wakanda, I thought it was a landlocked country. So that was like, wait, they have a beach now? Okay, cool. And then, okay, they attacked and looks like Namor kicked ass. And then he was like, all right, I'll be back in a week. And it's like, what, why? You're already winning.
Yeah, it's like, why let them regroup? And then Wakanda went on the water, which they lost home field advantage. And I don't know what they were doing. That whole third act was just rushed. And it felt like Eternals 2.0 because of the scene on the beach.
Now, so Shuri is fine. She got impaled, and I guess her suit's gonna, take care of that, and her herb power or something or other. Because most of the time, most people would die from that.
Yeah.
And if they were in the water so much, why couldn't they have fought on the Celestial? That would have been so awesome.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
Yeah.
If you just had it in the background, yeah.
That would have been a good tie-in.
Because, if they're on the ocean, they could have went over to the Indian Ocean. They could have been on the Celestial being that was partially in the ocean and tie in Eternals, whoever would want to do that.
Oh, that would have been badass. Yeah.
Yeah. How come I didn't write this movie?
Yeah. I mean, if thing's going to piss off Namor, it would be that the earth opened up and some asshole came out messing up his ocean.
Yeah.
But we're all connected somehow, except for that movie and this movie and that movie and this movie and this TV show and that TV show. So it's just kind of like, okay, I guess eventually they'll connect them somehow, but
a lot of the pandemic, it screwed everything up.
But I just don't blame the pandemic. I'm just starting to blame Disney/Marvel is getting more greedy.
Mm-hmm. And also, product can't produce this much material, can't oversee it all.
No, right. There's too much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And his and the guy he picked for number 2 is now running DC.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what? I give Star Wars a lot of credit because they were heading down the same path, and they kind of put the brakes on it and stopped it. Where they were trying to crank out so much so fast it was getting bad, and they finally said, "All right, nope, we're going to pull back."
But I think that was due to the financial performance of Solo and Rise of Skywalker.
Well, and they still made money with it, but it was. But at the same time, it was, the quality issue. Now, I personally really like Solo. I don't think it's as bad as the rep it gets, but at least they slowed things down a little bit and got some quality control with their product. Because I don't know if you guys are watching Andor. Andor is really good. I think Mandalorian is good, but it just seems like Marvel is just cranking out too much product. There's not enough oversight.
I kind of given up on Star Wars after 9, I guess.
Same. I'm through with Star Wars for a bit.
Guys, I'm telling you, Andor is not It's so good. It's not lightsaber blaster Star Wars. It's just not.
Oh, that's really good. I don't know. It's just I needed a break from Star Wars, and I'm almost saying I need a break from not just MCU, but kind of comic book movies in general. I'm just starting to get burned out.
Yeah.
But oh, sorry. You go ahead.
No, my break is really with Disney Plus for a lot of stuff. That's why I like She-Hulk. I didn't watch.
What was the one? Falcon, I just gave up for a bit.
Yeah, I watched Moon Knight because I like that character and I love Oscar Isaacs, and I thought Moon Knight was really good. I enjoyed it. But there's too much right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just so much content, so little time. But I think they really need a split. Because I keep noticing this name in the producer credits on Marvel. Her name is Victoria Alonso. What if they gave her the keys to the TV stuff and be like, okay, you be the head of the Marvel TV stuff, or maybe Kevin Feige wants to do TV and she can handle the reins. But because he's splitting himself, he's spread himself too thin here. He's like, I'm too busy.
So, I guess more focusing back on the movie.
What
do you guys think of Michael B. Jordan being back here?
That was good. I miss Killmonger.
Yeah, it made sense. They explained why she would see him and not T'Challa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was good too. I didn't expect it, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when this movie was good, it was really, really good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
When it was bad, it was really bad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the correlations they were making with Shuri being like him, all the loss, the vengefulness. I thought that stuff was really good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was go ahead.
No, I just say the two scenes that I thought with Angela Bassett that were great. The one we talked about was after Shuri got taken, and then and she basically fired the general. But the other scene at the beginning too, where she was at that UN meeting, and she had that special ops team brought in, and that speech she gave, I thought that was excellent as well.
Oh yeah, she's wonderful here.
I'm kind of surprised that they didn't take revenge on the France representative. They could have just arrested her or something for her plan, but
yeah,
that'll be in Secret Wars.
yeah.
Yep, she's gonna have her own TV show now. That French lady.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, her with the Y, but not where you expect.
Yeah.
You didn't see She-Hulk, so you won't catch that. But yeah, they're talking about giving her a show, and I'm like, why?
Who?
That
Madison.
The Y, but not where you expect. That's how she introduces herself.
Huh.
She kind of is like Snooki from Jersey Shore as a Marvel character kind of thing.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, please be a scroll. Please be a scroll. Please be a scroll.
That's. I don't hear anything Jersey Shore associated with Marvel.
I don't want to think about that.
For this purpose, for She-Hulk, it worked, but I could understand how it could not look like it worked, but it definitely worked for me in She-Hulk.
Yeah, She-Hulk is kind of in the Ally McBeal areas. It's superhero version of Ally McBeal.
Okay, I got you.
She-Hulk makes me think of that little early episode of Futurama of Single Female Lawyer. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, it kind of is. So, the fight with Namor where he was getting dried out, I was like, damn, that was actually really tough. And I was like, oh crap, he's actually going to kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if I wasn't distracted by how she got stabbed and was okay, the scene would have been better.
Yeah.
So, I guess Namor, people know that he exists now, or is it that just the audience knows that he exists, or does the government know, like, is there anyone that had cameras that showed these blue people, or is that just contained? We don't know that.
Yeah, we don't know that either.
It just seems like it's probably going to be explained in either Black Panther 3 or something later, maybe Thunderheart, I don't know.
Now, a weird thing, the Black Panther talks a lot about visions of, the afterlife and such. And now that we have a little more time in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the afterlife is really weird. And, Moon Knight kind of shattered some of that. And we have some stuff with, like, okay, they're dead, but they're not really dead. Like, in Thor, Love and Thunder. And it's just kind of in a weird spot where they kind of had to, like, make this a final thing because they don't have the option not to, and they didn't want to recast. So that's kind of one of those things where they've been kind of cheap with death, and now they can't, because I imagine that some way, somehow, we're going to have Iron Man come back to the MCU. It's not going to be like forever role, but it'll be like another universe's version or whatever,
Yeah, probably Secret Wars. And oh God, the rumor mill on all this Marvel plans, just ignore 90% of it because fanboys speculating and and everybody's working themselves up into a fever and they're going to be
Mephisto is going to come in this one, right?
Yeah. Well, they're saying some wild stuff and people are going to be disappointed like they were with Multiverse of Madness because they're going to hype themselves up to believing that Marvel's going to spend $1 billion on a movie.
Yeah.
And they're gonna, we're already gonna probably be disappointed because it seems like the train is coming off the rails.
Yeah.
Why add to it?
I kind of would like it if, the Kang Dynasty and the other Avengers movie, they could use that as like a reset point and just like, okay, that's it. That's the multiverse universe is just, crashed and all kind of, that's a good way to stop it and just, all right, we can take a breath and have 10 years without movies and that, because it's going to be a big universal, multiversal thing with multiple characters from different universes fighting one another and all that. So it's kind of, I don't know how you could beat that.
Exiles. Have you ever read that?
I know of it, but I've never read it. No.
Yeah, imagine kind of the X-Men mixed with God, what's that one that the name of it is, God, I can't believe it because I watched it a lot. We were talking about it the other day, Adolf.
Oh, I don't remember.
It was a time jumping, wasn't Quantum Leap, it was the other one that was really good. With Jerry McDonald.
Sliders.
Slider, yeah.
Yeah, Sliders. That's what Exiles is like. You got different universes bouncing around time. And Legends of Tomorrow pretty much was it, except with DC characters. It was freewheeling. It was fun. It was one of the best X books.
Now, kind of going on to the 3D aspect of this more so. We did have a lot of really cool shots, and I gotta give them credit.
Mm-hmm.
There's when the beginning of the funeral march, that you had the camera go down and you're like looking down on them, and that looks great. That looks really cool.
Yeah, that's why they did the trailer.
Mm.
I kind of wish they would have explained it. I mean, I assume as much, but I know it kind of is similar to how New Orleans funerals are happy, but like it just kind of felt weird for me as a Westerner, and we're like, yeah, funeral is supposed to be sad.
Yeah.
We got plenty of times with the spears popping out of the screen. I don't know about y'all, but that definitely happened for me all the time when they had their spears.
Yeah,
I remember some of that too. Yep.
It didn't penetrate enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there were enough spears popping out for me to give this a good rating.
Yet still, I wanted Namor's bulge right there in my face, but nope, didn't happen.
I at least wanted those wings fluttering in my face.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Because that one foot shot when he was coming, I was like going, I'm going to get wings in my face. No, I did not. And I was very disappointed.
Now, there was some cool slow-mo, but then some of the shots were, like, awesome, and some of them were, like, awful. And I was like, seriously? If you could just have the angle off a little bit or change the camera a little bit, you would have a great shot here, and you just ruined it.
Yeah, I think the 3D was more of an afterthought. You could see that Ryan Coogler wasn't experienced with working in 3D.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Mm-hmm. Which is a disappointment because he had some great shots and stuff. They just didn't work in 3D.
Now, when they had the underwater where they're like looking for the drill, that was actually pretty cool in 3D. Even though it was dark, it still looked pretty cool. But it could have had more fishes in there and more water bubbles coming out. It just, for what it was, it worked pretty well. It was still dark.
Yeah, I also thought a lot of the underwater stuff worked better in this than Aquaman.
Yeah. There's like a scene where like you're just kind of in awe of it, and like you're looking down, and like it has a lot of great depth there because you can see down into the all multiple layers of depth that the water is in, and it's like, oh, cool. And like you did get some of the bubbles and some of the fastness in there with going into that I guess what is it called, the water tunnel or something, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, I don't even know if they said what it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought the same thing. Somebody said earlier is like Finding Nemo with the turtles.
Yeah.
And like the fight scene that was on the what is it called, the highway, that was actually pretty cool in 3D. That looked pretty nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a lot of dark though.
Yeah, I think for me, and I don't know if anybody else watched it in IMAX, but it seemed like everything that was brighter, like the funeral scene and stuff, that depth and stuff was decent, was pretty good. In some cases had some good pop, but anything that was darker, a lot of the underwater stuff, that stuff really suffered.
Yeah, mostly it did. Or occasionally something backlit well enough that it made it pop a little. But a lot of it wasn't backlit at all, and it was flat as a pancake.
Yeah, that whole scene, the action scene in Wakanda, looked pretty cool because that was actually in full daylight.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when the water came in the city and stuff, that one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. That was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted it to look better than it was, and I was like, oh, I'm watching this in, Supreme Theater. It's not, not IMAX. I think it was EVX or whatever, and I know I've been there before, and we mentioned this again before the podcast, but we'll say it again. The fact that Avatar and the Way of Water trailer was before this, having so much water and so many cool 3D scenes in that one trailer made it like, oh my god, I can't wait to see this movie with, and then you see this movie and you're like, oh, it's kind of meh.
Yeah, no, it really was a stark contrast in a negative way for Black Panther.
Yes.
Yep.
The not only the 3D, but I think the CGI overall, it just really stood out. Now, whether that's budget or time, do we want to have to wait, over a decade for it to be that good? I don't know. I don't know that I want to wait that long. It has to be that good, but
Well, they should do fewer movies. I mean, there's been so many reports of special effects houses being worked to death and overworked.
Yeah.
At least the CGI in this movie is superior to the first one in every way, but
that's true.
Really about it.
Completely agree.
Yeah, because the first one was definitely rushed.
Yeah, I rewatched Black Panther in 3D before I went to see the new one, and man, that fight at the end. I mean, it's like watching PlayStation 2. It's
and
really
the Rhino. Oh, the Rhino.
Yeah, it's really bad. Yeah.
Now I forgot about T'Challa's girlfriend or whatever, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about her. I forgot about a lot of these things.
I think her name is.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, she's an assassin. I didn't know that, but cool. And oh, they had a kid together on the beach. Okay, I was kind of expecting a little bit more from that post-credit scene, but I was like, okay, well, that's good to know, I guess.
Yeah. And she's such a good actress too. I would have liked to see more of her.
Yeah. She should have been the new Black Panther.
I did wonder for a little while if that's the direction it was going to go.
Yeah.
But
it's kind of wondering, was like, okay, what are they going to do with this child, T'Challa? You know, is it really going to take away from Shuri being Black Panther in the future? How is this going to work with M'Baku? Is he going to stop being king because there's a rightful heir? It gets kind of hairy, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, I figure he's going to become one of the young Avengers, probably.
Now, does the powers of the Black Panther, does that go through genetically? Like, does he have some enhanced abilities because his father was?
I would say because T'Challa didn't have them in his
No.
Black Panther.
I think it all comes from the plant.
Yeah.
Now, and this is something that confused me. Okay, Shuri reproduces the plant and 3D prints it. But then she plants some of the other plant that the Atlanteans have. No, not the Atlanteans. I'm calling them Atlanteans because God, my brain is fried.
We know who you mean. Yeah, Namor's people.
Namor's people. Okay, so the flower she's growing, that's that flower. Okay, so is the Black Panther now going to have aquatic powers?
That's a good question. And can't they just print a whole bunch of it? I mean, and just give it to the entire fleet of the armed...
Why? Namor, they all took the flower. So why in the hell aren't all Wakandans now taking it?
Yeah, how come all the Wakandans aren't Black Panther?
Yeah, exactly. So you want our vibranium? Come and get it, bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, why would they even be worried, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's 8 million Black Panthers here.
Well, there's one of the things that I think it jumps out where they got stuck with having to retcon something because of an untimely death.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't see anything about the plant probably if Boseman's alive and does the sequel,
mm-hmm.
but unfortunately they had to figure that out.
Now, the director did say the movie was going to be about loss. It's just a different kind of loss. And it was going to be about the 5 years missing, but they just didn't want to explain it. And so it did get changed, but it's still the same kind of sentiment, the same kind of depressed sadness of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't have a problem with it if they didn't try to ram stuff in it that takes away from it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
which is really frustrating because, like I said, the good stuff in this is amazing.
Yeah, that's why that the whole Ironheart thing just I'd still recommend going to see it. Don't get me wrong, but it just really took away from that other powerful stuff.
Yep. Mm-hmm. It almost seemed like Coogler didn't want to include it. It was just Feige was like, it has to be in here. You're contractually obliged to put a commercial in here. Well,
it just made it longer than it needed to be.
Yeah.
Not to jump off topic, but did you guys see the running time for the Avatar sequel?
Oh yeah, it's 3 hours,
10 minutes.
Holy
featuring Namor.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy smokes! And I thought Black Panther seemed long, and that was what, like 240?
Yeah. If it's well paced, I could sit through anything. Like Endgame was well paced. That's 3 hours long.
Yeah, agreed.
Our eyeballs are going to get massaged wearing 3D glasses that long.
Yeah, well, that is part of the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else you want to mention about Wakanda Forever?
I would just add, we're certainly picking it apart, but it's definitely worth seeing. I think it has enough strong moments that you don't want to miss it. So I don't want to give the wrong impression.
Yeah.
And the 3D is good.
Yeah.
It's not as good as it's been in like Multiverse of Madness. I thought had better 3D than this.
Yeah, it did. I agree completely.
It's worth it, but if you decide to go see it in 2D, I don't think you're going to miss that much.
Right.
Now, it definitely is good, and I did struggle with what to give it. There's one scene where Bassett was like talking to the audience, and she was like getting emotional, and like, oh, I could feel like she was right in front of me, and like that 3D was subtle, but like you could really tell that they really got her person there in 3D. You know what scene I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yeah, I do.
So,
which scene are you talking about?
I think it's when she was doing her speech about how she lost everybody. I think it was.
Oh, at the UN. Yeah.
But yeah.
No, that's where the one you're talking about. The one where she took she placed the blame on the general and stuff, and took her rank away.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was incredible in that scene. So good.
Different scene than I was thinking of, but yeah, that was a really good scene.
I still do love Namor here. I still love a lot of the deep elements with Shuri really being conflicted and wanting to destroy and wanting revenge. And it's like, yeah, I get it. I totally get that. And I still like a lot of it. I was going back between an 8 through a 10, and I did eventually give it a 9, but maybe I feel like I probably should have given it an 8 instead. But I don't know. It's hard because I really,
it's
really
your
enjoyed
review,
it.
man.
I know.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed it. And I guess my lowered expectations was like, oh, cool. And I'm walking in the theater, I was like, I'm actually really happy. So it's kind of one of those things where maybe, I don't know. I still really enjoyed it. And, sometimes you just have to sit with something. And, I can't sit with a movie for 2 weeks. I have to review ASAP. So, yeah.
Exactly. I'm in the same boat. I mean, I gave it a 9 as well. And that's because what was good in this movie was incredible. But and I didn't want to dock the bad stuff that much because I didn't think it was bad. I just didn't think it belonged in this movie.
Yeah, and the acting overall, love it.
And I probably wouldn't have had such a negative reaction to Ironheart if this storyline had been in Armor Wars, or had been in the Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yes.
More appropriate.
And then the whole Everett Ross thing. Okay, cool. Now we know what's going on with him, but I guess he's gonna stay in Wakanda forever now because he can't leave.
And he'll escape eventually.
Or they're gonna use him to go catch Zemo or something.
Now, like I said, my final thoughts are it should have just been a miniseries. It had so much more room to breathe. They could have introduced Ironheart. It would have been more interesting. Like the movies that they chose to be films, Eternals, this shouldn't have been films. They should have been miniseries because they just stuffed so much 10 pounds of story in a 5-pound bag.
Yeah, I partially agree with that. I agree with it being too full. I'm glad it was a movie. I'd rather not have the main characters pushed to the sideline of Disney Plus, but I would have rather just had a 2-hour, 20-minute film about the loss of a hero and the conflict that his sister's going to go through to take over that mantle. And they could have still used Namor for that, but everything else that they were worried about tying the rest of the MCU in, I would have got rid of it all and just focused on that world. And I think
have a tighter movie.
And world wanting vibranium and finding out about the heart-shaped herb and trying to replicate it because they see it as instant super soldier.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of the first one. I liked it. I didn't think it was as great as a lot of people did. But the one thing that watching it again is really good about it, like there's characters from the MCU, like Claw is in there, but he's not a main character, but he's not distracting. it's really just all about Wakanda. There's not all this other peripheral stuff on it. It's about that and its people. And I think that's where it was so powerful and good. They didn't get worried about those other things. And
it stood on its own.
Yeah, I think if they would have taken that route with this, and maybe Coogler wanted to, maybe he that was his movie, and all this other stuff had to get edited in to please the powers that be. And if that's true, that's a real shame.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I see it both ways, because I feel like this is just a standalone sequel to the first one in some ways, but then like other things that happen are not mentioned at all here. So it's like, okay, I don't know what happened after the blip. I don't know what happened if Namor was impacted by the Eternal coming out of the water. I don't know, if T'Challa is having a after death experience, kind of like how Moon Knight did, and all these things are supposed to be connected, but they're not connected, and I don't really see when does this take place, because is this after Thor: Love and Thunder, or is this before? It's kind of hard, but it's like it's not quite connecting enough, and there's too much there too. It's both the worst of both worlds, I guess.
Fair.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So I guess that's gonna be a wrap. Maybe I don't know. I have to watch it again before I really have to say if I want to change my score. But I did enjoy it when I left the theater, and I was happy overall. I did cry, and I did get invested and liked it more than I thought. So I guess for now, I'll stick with my 9. Maybe watching it again will go down, but who knows? Some movies you have to watch a couple times before you really appreciate it, or maybe you stop appreciating it after a couple times because things change. Because some movies I used to love. What's that one with the guy that was in the future, but then it became reality, by Mike Judge. What's that movie?
Idiocracy.
Yeah, I used to really like that, and then now I watch it and it's like it's not funny anymore. It's just sad.
Oh no, it's still hilarious. I love that movie.
It's become a documentary.
Yeah, and it's just like it's not as good as it used to be because it's so relevant, and it's like no, this was kind of funny. So
and some made it better because it's really spot on what's going on.
So
yeah.
Jake, now that you've had more time, do you still feel like a 9 for you, or do you think you probably should have gone lower, or do you want to rewatch it before you decide again?
I don't know. I think I should go an 8. I don't think I'm as egregiously wrong as I was with Wonder Woman 84. That was my reaction to the mass negativity that I didn't think was deserved. But this, I think, a reasonable score because I didn't take off enough for the shortcomings of this movie.
You do think this is better than Wonder Woman 1984, though, correct?
Yes, I hope so.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
Of course. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
What was your initial score for 84, if you don't mind me asking?
I think I gave it an 8.
Wow. You are a kind soul.
No, it's because I liked the subplot. I mean, the whole kind of Trump light story. But then I'm sitting there going, wait a minute, this is a Wonder Woman movie.
Right. Yeah.
She's like a background character in her own damn movie.
She was.
Like Captain Marvel. Like she was a background character.
Yeah.
In her own.
Yep. All right, John, any last sentiments you got on this?
No, I think I one of the things I love about being involved with this and is hearing everybody's opinions and thoughts, and I still stick with my 7 for it. But like you guys said, I need a second viewing. That probably won't happen until it comes home for me on disc. Now, hopefully, I gave my second viewing of Thor: Love and Thunder. And that didn't help that movie at all. So hopefully it'll help Black Panther some. But I did enjoy it. There are scenes that are arguably some of the best in MCU history, I would argue. Dramatic scenes in this movie, and visuals like the funeral and stuff that are outstanding. But too much stuff in a bag. If they would have leaned it out a little bit, it could have been arguably one of the best, I think. And yeah, they just need to trust us a little bit more. You can give us a movie about loss. It doesn't have to to be all action all the time to please us fans, I think.
All right, Jacob?
I still stand with my God, I really wish I could give a decimal score. I'll say like 6 or 7, but yeah, it's just overstuffed, little undercooked. It feels like Thanksgiving, but in some of the worst way. They're like the highs are high, but the lows are really low.
So I guess the next question is how will we see Namor come back? Because I don't see any reason for him to come back in any other project.
Well,
Avengers.
I want him to be involved with the Fantastic Four the way he's supposed to be. I would love to see him part of the Fantastic Four universe, like in the comic books and after Sue Storm. I mean, maybe it's cliche because that was in the books for years, but I would just love that.
I have a feeling they're probably going to make him part of the X-Men.
Well, yeah. Or is it?
Because they've recently, I mean, because a lot of guys were disappointed that there wasn't the Chadwick Boseman Namor fight.
Yeah.
I mean, he's passed on, but I thought they captured some of that going on in the comics when Namor became a complete total villain in the books.
Yeah. Well, and he was original Illuminati too, so that could be a direction they go.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we're supposed to get What If Season 2 sometime early next year. That would be a fun thing to put him in, the stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think he's very well cast. I like the guy who played him. I thought he did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
It's because, and I'm seeing the next stuff that's coming up, and, Ant-Man and the Wasp, I don't think they're going to touch this at all. Secret Invasion, maybe, with Ross, but I don't know. It might be more with, what's her name? Forget the character's name. The purple hair. Val, yeah. So she's probably going to be a lot of Secret Invasion, but we don't know for sure. And Guardians 3, no way in hell is anything going to touch that. I mean, it's going to be totally on its own. I mean, maybe something from the holiday special. Maybe something is referenced. Maybe, I don't know how they're going to do that.
Don't you think Guardians 3 is going to close the book on that part of the universe?
Yeah, maybe.
Characters? I think it has to, right? Especially with Gunn over at DC now.
Yeah,
Warner Brothers.
Unless they get somebody else to direct, like Sean Gunn, maybe.
Yeah, they're probably reworking it.
Yeah, I think they already.
I imagine Rocket's gonna pass on because Bradley Cooper's got a production deal with Todd Phillips at Warner Brothers, so he's probably only reason he was there because Gunn asked him to. So he's probably gonna concentrate more on his deal at Warner's. So. I don't know. Depends on what they do with Nova.
I imagine that Guardians might actually be connected to the Marvels, but that's still a lot to connect because Marvels has the Miss Marvel TV show and Miss and Mrs. Marvel. The Marvels. Yeah. So I don't know how Guardians going to connect to anything else, but yeah, I think they're writing this movie to be the end of that chapter for those characters. And of course, Echo is coming out apparently next summer, which I don't see that connecting to anything except for maybe Daredevil.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be a Daredevil tie, I think.
So the real question with Black Panther, like, how does this seal off Phase 4 for you?
No idea.
Same. It feels like it just ended and there's no proper resolution. It feels like Phase 2 all over again. Oh, yeah. It ends.
I feel like it's part of Phase 4.
Yeah.
It's just there.
All right. Well, I guess that's kind of going to be it because I don't really know anything else happening. I mean, 2023, we're already getting some delays of stuff. So, I'm not 100% sure how much of that's really going to be happening. We'll see how it works out. But I don't know how this is going to connect to the bigger Marvel universe and how much we're going to get a lot of explanation. I don't know. We shall see. I guess we'll definitely see more of Ironheart in her show eventually. Next year. I guess maybe we'll have a connection to Wakanda Forever in there. Obviously, she has to make a whole new suit again, which is kind of I feel for her. But yeah, whatever. We'll figure it out, and I kind of do feel like I said before, like they should just wrap it up with Last Avengers, Secret Wars, and because it's going to be hard once they reboot the whole universe or multiverse, how to continue on. But I still really enjoyed this, and I'm interested. Ant-Man and the Wasp looks like a fun movie, so I dig it.
Yeah, I am looking forward to that. I'm hoping the 3D is solid as well, and that I think it has a chance to be like Doctor Strange as far as 3D goes.
Yeah, I just hope that it starts off Phase 5 in a much more interesting light than Black Widow did.
Yeah. All right. I guess it's going to be it from us. Bye.
See you, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
All right. Before this podcast wraps up, I want to thank my patrons. Thank you, Mr. Bungo 5, Kano 3D, Gravity Head 0, Alex Folk, and Kevin Winter for your financial support on Patreon.com.
You can find 3D or 2D on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, Instagram, and more. Just look for 3D or 2D. Thank you for either listening or watching this podcast. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Take care. Bye.